All right, so part of building a race car is having to install some safety equipment. So I'm going to show you some of the basic safety equipment that I'm having to install in order to try and get my competition license this year. One of the main things is installing a fire extinguisher. This is a 4-liter fire sense system I got from Discovery Parts. I'll put a link below where you can get one of these. But it's very cheap assurance. In the event the car catches fire, you can just fog the entire car and get out and get safe. As far as the fire extinguisher system goes, you do get a few parts with it. First thing, obviously largest thing, is the fire bottle. Like I said, I did get this one from Discovery Parts, and it's a full kit. These do have expiration dates, so this one is going to expire on 2023 in December. You get a lockout pin, and what you plumb it in at the ends, and then you have cables at the latch. You're going to get 2 brackets, sort of like nitrous bottle brackets. They will wrap around the fire bottle and secure it down. You're going to want to through bolt these to the floor. You get these anti-torpedo brackets. So what's going to happen is these will mount. In addition, you'll actually slide them over top, mount through them. And this is going to hold the bottle and just ensure that it doesn't go anywhere in the event of a puncture, so it doesn't rocket around the cabin. Get all your safety decals, large and small extinguisher stickers. This is your main line, and you're going to tee off on this. It is just plastic coated aluminum. It's hard to focus in on that, but you can cut this with like some hose cutters or something, and it will hold up pretty good. This is all the rest of your main line that you'll splice in to feed to all four of your outlets. And then these are your outlets and your splicing sections. So first one, you'll notice there's a larger end and 2 smaller ends. So the larger end will go onto that short piece of hose, and then your smaller ends will go on here. And then you have this T, which is all 3 of the small ends. And then you have this bulkhead connector. So you can drill a hole through the firewall and through bolt this, tighten this up to the firewall, plug it in on either side. That way you don't have a hole in the firewall, because that will keep you from passing tech inspection. And you've got 2 of those little T's to help plan out your route, and then 4 nozzles. So the way that these work, you'll build a mounting bracket. It mounts like this. Plug it in on the back side, tighten your jam nut, and then that's where it's going to come out, wherever it's faced. You're going to want to have 2 in, a minimum of 2 in the engine bay and 2 in the driver compartment. They do update the rules from time to time, so depending on when you're watching this video, do make sure that you're following your racing sanctioning body's rulebook. Everybody's going to be just a little bit different. You're also going to have 2 of these pull cables, a shorter and a longer one, but basically you'll mount these wherever you want this to be actuated. The far end with the little clamp will go through the fire bottle handle. You'll thread both of them, and then whenever you need the fire extinguisher, you just pull and it sets off the fire extinguisher. It does also come with an instruction guide to kind of give you some ideas on how to do all this, all the details, all the routing, how to position everything.
If you found this video useful and helpful,
please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It does go a long way toward helping grow the channel. Once we hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, it will help provide funds to make better videos. All right, so a lot of the guys that I race with actually have their fire bottle here in the passenger floor, right where a passenger seat would go. This is a very ideal location for this. You can remember to pull the pin out, and it shortens up the length of everything so you can plumb everything pretty well. But what I think I'm going to do is actually put this farther back to try and shift a little bit of weight rearward. As it is a front wheel drive, we have a lot of weight over the front wheels. So trying to pull some of that weight off, balance out the weight distribution a little bit, get a little bit more, just to take more traction on the back end. This isn't very heavy. It's probably 10 pounds, give or take. It's very lightweight, maybe not even 10 pounds. But I'm gonna probably mount it where the back seat would have been in this vehicle, and then try to route my cabling and everything out of the way. This is one of those things you want to measure your tubing. If you can order more of this stuff, if you need more, you just have to reach out to Discovery Parts and get the extra tubing. And then I'm using the foam blocks that come with the kit just to help mock up roughly where I'm going to put the bottle. So as you can see, I have it just generally sat there in the middle. I may shift it this direction just to save a little bit of tubing. If this was a no expense spared race car, then we would obviously put it on scales, corner balance it, and try to find the most optimal location for that, which, because I'm front wheel drive and on the driver's side, I would imagine would be on the passenger side as far back as we could go. But then you have to buy more tubing and everything. I'm going to try and do all this with just the included bits of the kit. One thing you do want to think about is the location of your exit nozzle. You don't want it pointing backwards and then having to reroute forward unless that's convenient for your specific application. You do only get a limited supply of line, so you do want to make sure that you're utilizing all possible usage points without having to waste any. Alright, so I'm going to use a pre-existing hole in the dashboard for this. The hole is just a little bit too large, so I'm actually going to use a washer. After final assembly, I'm going to take this washer, sand it down, and paint it red just to, in case I don't see the big red handle, it'll help. Just because in the event of an emergency, you never know. Every little bit might help. So you've got a longer cable and a shorter cable. The longer one is probably going to be the one you'll use to route to the dashboard or to wherever you're going to pull your fire handle. The shorter one more than likely will be the one you'll put close to a window, so that way the safety workers can pull the handle in the event you can't. And then we will put the lock washer on first, followed by the jam nut. And just work those up the cable. And obviously, depending on your situation, you may have to fight with it a little more than I am. There's not a whole lot of streetcar left on this. And then, so for right now, that's okay, but you will want to snug it up a little bit later during final assembly. So the idea is that if I have a fire, all I have to do is reach over and pull. So more than likely, this is sort of how we'll route it, just nice and out of the way. That way, if I do decide to put a passenger seat in later, it'll still be out of the way, and we'll have it tied up there. So generally speaking, you're going to have at least 2 of these nozzles in the engine bay. You want to think, where are your fires probably going to be? So for me, I have oil up here through the oil cooler and the oil system. but you also have the turbocharger in the back. Generally speaking, if something's going to catch fire, it's going to be the really hot part. So the turbocharger is definitely something that I want to make sure gets covered. So I think what I'm going to do is actually drill a hole here in the firewall and aim one of these straight down, pretty much at the turbocharger. That way, in the event of a fire, that's my most likely source of ignition. The other thing, you've also got your fuel rail up here. So again, another potential source of fire. So I'm going to have one at the back, aiming pretty much at the back side of the engine, and I'm going to route one up in the front somewhere. Most of my fuel line and everything is over here, so I think I'm going to concentrate on this side. So I'll have one there and one here, and then in the future I may add and expand the system and add a third one on this side, just to make sure it's covered on all sides. But for right now, I'm just going with the bare minimum.
Okay, so here is the near final assembly for the engine bay. I have one in the back of the firewall near the turbocharger, and a second one on the left-hand side, aiming toward the fuel system. I still need to make a mount for the one on the left-hand side, but this should pretty much cover anything flammable in the engine bay. You can see we've got the bulkhead connector drilled through behind the firewall to keep integrity in the firewall. We have our extinguisher decal placed on the outside of the vehicle at the closest entry point to the fire handle for the corner workers. You can see the bottles all plumbed in. I've made a small bracket for the fire handle for the corner workers. Since my vehicle is red, I did opt for a bright color to make sure that they can see it. And then you can see I've got the one for myself on the dashboard. So looking inside the engine bay, all of my lines and cables are tucked neatly running along the base of the door. It's very difficult to see because of the weather stripping, and they're all zip tied to the roll cage out of the way without any binding. As we come around to the back side, all that's left is to connect the cables to the fire bottle handle, and then it's ready to go. As always, thank you for visiting the channel. If you found this video useful and helpful, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It does go a long way toward helping grow the channel. Once we hit that 1,000 subscriber mark, it will help provide funds to make better videos. Thank you, and make sure to share with your friends. See you on the track.